Hey guys, me again. Okay, this is the chassis that I was gonna put on that Cummins engine, the 6.7, but I ended up changing my mind about doing it because of it's just too expensive. A lot of modifications that need to be done. You know, if you know anything about mechanics, it's not easy to put this sucker on. So the reason I was gonna do it is because that truck right there was something I purchased in the past, and it was on a accident, I guess, a wreck. That the chassis was twisted, so I thought of changing the chassis on it and putting back the body on that. So I kind of painted the chassis, took the engine off this chassis and all the components and put them on that. I was going to do the swap like I mentioned, but I talked to a lot of people that are into this stuff, and they just did not say it was a cost-effective thing to do, and that a 6.7 it does have a little more horsepower than a 6.5, but you can modify the engine a 6.5, like they say, bulletproof it and pull out 550 horsepower off of it. That was told, and that's what I am, and end up doing. Okay. There's a lot of things that I'm gonna be saving money on, like not doing the drive shafts if I was gonna do the 6.7. There's a lot of modification on the motor mounts and all kinds of stuff. So I ended up putting the engine back on from that chassis into this one after I cleaned it up and painted it. But I talked to a guy that I met online that he does diesel engines, and we're gonna end up bulletproofing this engine. Put studs on all kinds of stuff that he does to them to pull 500 horses off of it with a turbo on it, a side turbo on it. So I'm gonna have to take it apart again and take him the engine block so he can build it for me. But I'm just showing you guys a video of this thing, how it looks when it's mounted on the chassis when the body's off of it. Also, you can see this, the headers on this thing, man. Look at these things. They are so cheaply made and built. For a military vehicle, how in the heck do they expect this engine to breathe? Look at this. Look at the wells on this thing. Look at this. This is what the government paid for. Okay? Look at these things. They're so cheaply made, and they're so thin. The pipes are so thin. I mean, how do they expect this thing to breathe? Plus, if you have one of these things, you don't get to see it like this, obviously, because you haven't taken it apart like I have. But you get a view of it, how it is set up. The headers on it, the shafts, transmission. So I have no choice but to take it apart again and have the engine done, so I can pull some more horsepower off of it and put a turbo on this thing. So you can see how it is, where your stuff is at on yours, like comparing to this one. So that's where I'm at. And the reason why I swapped this thing, obviously, is, like I said, it was on an accident that I want to purchase, and the chassis was all twisted. As you can see right here, let me show you. See that? Look at those rails. they're like twisted that way, and like they're like 45 almost. They got hit really hard. And here's the carnage of it. See, this big bent right there is like half inch back. So I'm just showing you how it looks when the sucker is completely taken apart. You get an idea what you got, you know. And here's the body. I know I mentioned in other videos on the harness on these things. You got a harness for the engine and a harness on the body. So when you disconnect them, just be careful you don't jank them out, because you're gonna end up messing up the harness. You got the battery cables there, you see. You got 3 cables that connect to the transmission. You got the drive shaft there, and you got this things here. See it? There's for the alternator or generator or whatever you want to call it. Here's the motor mounts. And the best thing about not doing the 6.7 swap on it is that you are going to be using the stock, motor mounts on the engine and drive shafts and transmission, which I've been told that it will take the 500 horses. This guy that's going to build it for me, he said he's got a Tahoe engine, same engine on it, with the same transmission and all that, 4x4, and he says he's got a lot of power on it, the way he built it. So I will be posting videos on how it's going to be built when I get the engine back, and I'm going to take it apart and find the parts for the how to install the turbo, and I'm hoping I can find something better than these headers, something that will help the engine breathe better, for the exhaust. So I do not like this setup. This is so freaking cheap made. It just grabs from one side underneath the transmission into that and just pulls all the way out to where the pipe's supposed to be at. This is a running engine, but I'm not gonna do the 6.7 build. I will be doing a 6.5, and we're gonna bulletproof this thing up and see if we can pull 500 or more horses out of this thing, which I've been told that it can be done easily if you do it right. So this month coming up, I'm gonna be sending it out to this guy and see what he does to it. So, and I was told also that you gotta use a computer for it to run the turbo. So he's gonna help me out with the harness and have the computer of the engine set up correctly. So that's where I'm at. I'm still not finished with this thing. I have done other works and other ones I got just to keep the business going or keep the money in my pocket so I can pay the rent for this darn place. So anybody interested in purchasing one of these things, I got several of them that are already running humvees. These two here, they need gauge clusters. Man, those things are getting hard to get. Seriously, I've been looking for them, and people are asking some outrageous prices for the gauge clusters on these things, because these suckers, I don't know why in the hell these people, whoever took them apart, they cut all the wires off of them. So I am missing the gauge clusters. These are running cars. I already went through them completely. These are 6.5s, and they're running.